Hello, Pedro, Sahil, Neruda. So happy to see you here. María Sofía, Sandra, ¿cómo estás? Sonia, well, I'm really glad to see you here today. So this is the first time I'll be conducting or getting back to what used to be my audio room back in Clubhouse. I was running a room called How to Gain Visibility While Working in Corporates. That used to be a room that I ran every week for almost a year. And then I decided to stop it to be more focused on what I needed to do for my clients. And then now that I have like the agenda like more ready, right, to get back at it, and I'm happy to be here with you today. So the idea for me to relaunch this space, it goes in order to the needs that I've been seeing in the market, especially more people trying to leave corporate. And at the same time, people that are working in corporate still, but they haven't found new ways or better ways to promote themselves while they are still working there. And at the same time, some people are working in corporate, but are looking for other options to do something else or start working on a personal project. The idea for this session is to share with you some actionable practices, right, that will help you become the go-to person in your field. So it's going to be a series that I'm going to try to keep every 2 weeks or every week. I haven't decided yet, depending on how many people I'm going to start getting in the sessions. But the idea is just to try to share as much information as I can. Of course, all this information will come out of the sessions that I have with my current clients, which, as you might know, most of the relationships are fully confidential because they need to keep their work or their jobs safe until they decide what else they need to do. And for other people that still need to maximize the chances of getting hired, that perhaps they have been out of the job market for a while, and then they need to restart or start looking in the right way. So the session is called Maximize Your Chances of Getting Hired. And for this particular session, I'm going to be talking about virtual interviews. Okay, it is called like that after one of the free resources that you can find on my website, and that particular resource will also lead you to be with me on a call, and then we can share a new strategy for you to identify what's the next step for you. So I want to make sure that if you are listening to me properly, right? As I said, this is the first time I do this. I can see Sonia is raising her hand to speak. So I just want to make sure first that you can hear me properly, right? And then I'm going to open up the conversation. So Sonia, if you give me just a couple of seconds, I'll be back at you. So if you react with a smiley, with a heart or something to let me know that you can hear me properly, please let me know if you can hear me. Oh, I realized that you weren't listening to me. Hello, how are you? I can see some familiar faces, María Sofía, Sandra, Mariano, Neruda. Yeah, I was trying to check, and Sonia happily just recommended me to unmute myself. I'm not so familiar with these formats here on LinkedIn. I've been invited to speak at a few of the sessions, but I haven't share one myself. So that's why I was here, but you weren't listening to me. So I apologize for that. And here I'm trying to just bring this space back, as I was saying while I was muted, still muted, to what used to be my Clubhouse room back in 2021, I could say, to 2020, to share some strategies to help professionals gain visibility while working in corporates. right? So the idea to get back at these spaces is more related to how to identify your chances or maximize your chances of getting hired. I decided to identify or name these particular sessions that I'm gonna try to run them for the next couple of weeks, or even if I can do more, I'll be very happy to do so, depending on my agenda, to share actionable strategies to help people stand out with their own potentials and, of course, maximize their chances of getting hired. What I've been looking in the market is, and all I'll share with you is going to be related to what my current clients are sharing with me, right, as part of the sessions, the personal brand elevator program that I run as a one-on-one and very confidential type of program. People that are working in corporate, most of my clients, they are on a C-level type of role, or like very managerial type of role, and then they're trying to decide to stay or to leave corporate, or to stay and then find a new purpose, right, or their purpose, and get into a new business. So the idea for these sessions is to maximize the chances of getting hired for a new role within corporate, or even, well, if you're looking for clients. For this particular session, I want to cover the topic related to virtual interviews, especially because, well, as many of the people, of job seekers, were thinking that the market stopped, especially in Europe, that is very warm at the moment. Well, we have other areas, but I'm just more familiar with what I'm living at the moment, that the processes have stopped, and they haven't. Okay, the idea is, especially for these weeks, most people are, or recruiters, colleagues, are running interviews still, but they are just doing it, especially if you're not in the area, or depending on the role, to do a screenings or the first interviews to get to know the best candidates out there. So for today, I'm gonna share a few strategies. We're gonna be focusing on preparing the technical aspects of the interview before the interview. That's something that you should actually keep in mind beforehand, for sure, because you don't want any bad news or any situation that will make you feel uncomfortable while you are at the interview. And at the same time, that you need to do before is just to prepare your speech, right? What you need to say and how you should be saying it, because that's a different thing. And the last point would be to own your stage. How can you do that, and how can you make sure that you come across as the right person for that particular hiring manager to get to know you, and of course to make them to call you and then hire you. So before I keep going, I'm gonna reintroduce myself, right? For I believe, well, Sandra knows me, Neruda as well, Leomar, welcome. Irina, we are friends, online friends. We haven't met properly, and Sahil. So my name is Daniela Sarmiento. I'm a personal brand and career strategist specialized in image consulting and executive presence. And I'm also a business owner, a part-time international executive search consultant. And the reason I started this business a few years ago, it was because I was interviewing hundreds of aspiring leaders. They were selling themselves short as part of the interviewing process. Yeah, believe it or not. I could see them showing up, right, with their skills, with their technical skills, but it was really frustrating me that they couldn't actually verbalize their value while they were at the interview. So that, for me, as a recruiter, didn't help me to introduce those candidates to my clients. So I decided I needed to do something that helped them express their value while taking advantage of their self-image and their communication skills. And that's why today I keep advising and providing strategies to independent and corporate professionals, as I said before, on how to present themselves confidently to new professional opportunities, and of course, to make the highest impact. Given the time that we have together today, I won't be covering specific questions regarding the interviewing process. I will do another session for that, of course. But as I said, I would love to be covering more what it is related to preparing technical aspects before the interview, preparing your speech, how should you sound, how you will approach each question, and of course, how to take time for that, and how to own your stage while you are at the interview, because that's all about it. Especially you will have the screen, the room that you picked perhaps in your own house to have the interview, and then to be able to just share those minutes, perhaps 40, 60 minutes that interview will give you. So you need to make sure that everything is in place. So as we know, virtual interviews, they have been happening for a long time, right? Still, because I can see it when I get to run a couple of recruitment processes, people don't prepare for them. And then, of course, they risk their opportunity of landing that desired job. So I just want to make sure if you give me any hint that you are hearing me properly, if we are all right so far, everything is okay, and you can hear me properly now, I'll keep going. And then, okay, Joseph, great to see you here. I'm happy you got to join, because you can then, if you want, and come up on stage and then share for the next couple of topics. I want you to share your insights. So as I said, believe it or not, preparation and confidence are key to acing virtual interviews. That's for sure. And I can say that coming from my position as an executive search consultant, but at the same time, as someone that is preparing people that perhaps they were working in corporate for 10, 15, 20 years, and they were very skilled, right, at what they were doing, especially people coming from finance, coming from marketing for a long time. But now that they need to get to the market with the intention to share their top leadership, they still don't find the best way to address themselves, but at the same time, how to share that message succinctly. We are talking about confidence here, independently on the role that we are holding at the moment. We should try to keep that skill, like training it every day. With any situation, we will always face an experience that will let us to be the best, but at the same time to support what are our own beliefs. So on that note, I wanted to share a few elements that you should keep in mind for preparing for the interview. To start with, I will talk about the technical and visual aspects, and that's where I would love Joseph to come after. And then, why we should be paying attention with those aspects. The idea is to prevent any kind of frustration when we are at the interview, right? Because it is very stressful, the whole process itself. So why, if I still have time before the interview, to prepare for some technical elements for them just to help me push and present myself in the right way? Why am I not looking after those elements? So the first thing would be the lightning. That use of lightning can counteract the message. And instead of generating interest, it could generate just the opposite. I've been seeing a few candidates that they sometimes, okay, I understand that they might have small spaces in their house, but we all might have a window, right, at home. So why not positioning yourself in front of it? And we have forgetting that at dusk, if everything looks darker, you might need an extra lamp, that's for sure. But you can take advantage of any windows that you have at home and just sit there, and then you will actually be seen properly, right? The natural light enhances your features, and at the same time, you will share that intention with more ease because you don't need to be looking after extra elements, more extra technical elements, such as those ring lights as well, that sometimes they don't even do the work. So when you are in front of the camera, the idea is that you avoid any kind of shadows in your face. That would be the best way to take advantage of the natural light. In terms of the background, it should be a professional background if you can. We don't usually have the spaces, as I said, but that should prevail for sure. You don't need more than, let's say, a wall in a uniform color, or two decorative elements such as a plant or a complementary picture. But believe me, the plainer, at least for me, the better, and especially for you, because you don't want the interviewee paying attention to, okay, what's behind the candidate? I want to know, and even sometimes you derail the attention. And in terms of the camera angle, as well, make sure it is frontal. Just remember that a virtual interview differs much more on this aspect than a face-to-face interview. So use the camera to your advantage, and then the interviewer's attention will be fully on you. If your laptop is on the table, let's say, you will be looking down for sure. So try to use, if you don't have any other resources, try placing a set of books underneath and bring it to your eye level, because as you might imagine, your eye contact is very important. And I'm happy that, Joseph, it is like you're reading my mind. So how can I bring you up? Let me try this. Because we're gonna talk about the outfit that you should pick for this particular situation. So allow to speak. Yes, I have you here. Hello, unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello there.
It's nice to hear you, Daniela, and good morning or good afternoon, wherever you all are. Yeah, so did you want me to share some pointers about dressing for the online interview?
Absolutely. Yes, please go ahead. And I'm really glad to have you here because, well, imagine someone with such expertise like yours. And of course, as you know, I really admire you since we met back in Clubhouse, maybe almost 2 years ago. So yeah, I would prefer if you start off the conversation in that topic, and then I will add some comments as well. Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. So along with your comments about the environment that you create for your interview space, with just to reiterate your points about being near natural light, at a window source, and being able to create that environment around that might appear on screen, such as a flower or a plant or a candle or a piece of artwork. All those choices can help to reflect and represent elements of your self-worth, of your self-image, of your taste and your interests in things. And that really is where it leads into what you wear. You might think that because it's an online interview and the camera will only pick up your face and maybe the top half of your chest, it's actually important to dress head to toe all the way down to the shoes, because how you feel in what you wear has so much to do with the energy that you emit. You have to remember that when you're in an online interview, the energy that you emit is cut into a small proportion of the full energy that you could emit in a in-person interview. And so you have to do more with less visual space available to you, which means that you need to bring to bear the full force of your energy. And one of the most wonderful ways that you can do that is through your personal style and showcasing who you really are and what you are all about. You might think that wearing a jacket in today's day and age might be overdoing it because it's, again, an online interview. But if you're looking for more responsibility or a position of authority, a jacket with a lapel really helps to telegraph that story. Also, a shirt or a blouse with a collar, even if you forego the aforementioned jacket, is something that really helps to convey authority in a visual context. If you are a person who presents as female and would like to wear a dress instead of a suiting, that's also fine. And if that dress that you might wear could have a collar on it, that allows you to have the best of both worlds, your preference for a dress that may make you feel confident and appropriate to your taste and liking, but also still with a lapel of some kind or a collar can still help to create more authority for you. Not everything about authority is about trying to overpower another person or just trying to be powerful for the sake of power. Yet it is about conveying a certain kind of focus through your power, through your personal power, and also about you being a person who is responsible. In some types of work, wearing clothes that are too formal, maybe for an engineering role, wouldn't be the way to go. But certainly having that collar authority is very important. It just shows that you're a person who's ready to do business. So, Danielle, I turn it back over to you for your thoughts and comments on all that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and you're so right, because when we pick an outfit, we'll be thinking about that position already, that we hold that role already. And of course, you want to feel comfortable and at the same time start projecting confidence that you will be able to perform that job, right? So yeah, I totally agree with you. As always, there is always something else to be done in the image scope of things, right? We get to listen to people that, okay, yeah, we can work on that, but let me work on something else prior to that. And you should go in line with your professional and your personal goal. When we get to see that we are preparing for an interview in particular, I wanted to bring it like at the very beginning of the preparation process, because that is something that you should do in advance, because it's about just getting ready, as you say, like, I'm ready to do this, I'm ready to perform, I'm ready to show up in the best way I can, and then I take my time, so I won't appear in front of the camera, because we are talking about a virtual interview here, just wearing something that maybe this person just found anything in their wardrobe and then just went on the interview without giving it that second thought. As we know, we have even colors, right, to potentiate our message. So why not taking that information that someone else like us, like that know are experts on that field, to be able to approach your next opportunity using those elements that will enhance your own potential. So I'm always very focusing in asking people, like, take time to pick your outfit. Don't leave it for the last minute, because maybe your iron when work at the last minute. You should be focusing just on the interview, on the day on the interview, something that sometimes people don't even consider. And this applies also to presentations, right? The important presentations, considering the room temperature that you will have in the cold front, picking the right fabric for it. As we know, the idea is just to avoid sweating for one more extra reason, right? The idea is just to pick what is appropriate when you even go to an interview on a face-to-face, and then, for example, you get to pick something that is related with the culture. You've done your research properly as well. You don't want to be going to a setup to work for an IT department or a more creative position, wearing something that is not right, not even for you, because you just wanted to go perhaps for what so many people advise online, but with something that you say, okay, people have been doing this for a long time, and then why not? I'm gonna wear something perhaps very formal that is actually not the right choice for many people at the moment, as we know. Picking uniform colors as well, I would say, is the most optimal idea, especially, well, as you know, I am very focused on profile, finance, administration, legal for years. I've been not just recruiting, but headhunting those profiles. Yeah, as classic as they might be, they might not have the right color to them, help them to reinforce, right, the message. As I say, they might have a very strong technical skill, knowledge, but at the same time, well, we want everything around us, especially on what we wear, is our face. Then it will be the presentation. People will get to see onto the our half body, let's say, and then we want to take advantage of that, picking the right garment. And as you say, well, those particular garments that you mentioned, Joseph, are usually the best ones as well for me to share with people, like, why not trying this option and see how it looks, because sometimes people haven't even looked for those options. And of course, avoiding stripes or crazy patterns, and because you don't want to distract, but at the same time, they can be very strident when reflected on camera. So you should be careful with that in terms of picking the right garments. And then, of course, just you will always be interviewed with the intention that they want to find the person behind that role, but at the same time that your credentials will help the company achieve their goals. Remember that even after that position or that role that you get to hold, you will still have so much time to keep expanding your knowledge, your reputation, and your authority. And first impressions really count. So keep that in mind, not just for picking the right attire, but at the same time, how you can complement your verbal message using your style. Okay, so Joseph, thanks so much for your contribution. I don't know if you want to add something else, or someone else want to ask a question or come up on stage.
Thanks for having me. I concur wholeheartedly with your comments about colors and patterns and so, and what to embrace and what to avoid for the interview online. Great job, Danielle.
Thank you. Thanks a million. I appreciate your presence here. So Neruda, I don't know if you want to now pop up, because I'm gonna talk about preparing the speech, right? What's very important for people nowadays, especially because we don't have that much time to be not even in an interview, because you might be working, you might be having other different things as part of your agenda. And then, well, the idea is just to take advantage of the time that recruiter or hiring manager or even just your direct boss, right, will give you for that conversation. I want to call it conversation, especially when you have passed the first 1 or 2 interviews, that you have in mind that you're going to have a conversation with someone. But we want to be respectful with other people's time. And then that's why I always recommend that it is very, very, very important that you conduct a mock interview. A mock interview puts you right there in the place, in the day, in the space, right, of that day of the interview, but let's say with a friend, with a coach, with a consultant, with a member of your family. And then you get to test how comfortable you will feel with the whole virtual format. And the idea is always to show up as you would in a person interview. Okay, the idea is just that you take time, and that when you start sharing your answers, you will also be able to hear yourself, right? Your tone of voice, the level, right? The volume of your voice, and then to reflect back on what you are saying. And of course, take the time to share your responses and also evaluate if you are sharing it with the right intention, because that's what you will need when you go and have that conversation, because it's going to be a big change for you. It's a new company that you are trying to join. So you don't want to leave the interview thinking, oh, I should have prepared more, or I don't think I will pass on to the next stage. So keep in mind that the way you will articulate your value proposition is going to be the main element that will help you land that position. And that's why when I encourage people, even if they want to do the mock interview with me or not, I at least just give even some elements, like to start with, just to do it, feel that you are going now to the interview, right? And then why not bringing your facts with you? And I usually speak about that because we forget about numbers, percentages, right? And that's something that it should always be there. So I'm going to bring Neruda. I appreciate for your interest coming up here. Thanks so much. Hello, how are you? How are you? I'm so happy to have you here. And then if you can share, because of course you have been trainer of employability skills for a long time. So if you would like to take the time to share something with us in that sense.
Thank you very much, Daniela, and thanks for Joseph. And yes, thank you for letting me talk for this minute. And yes, I hope everyone is doing fine. Yes, I couldn't agree more with what you said actually recently now with the preparing yourself. I think, and I totally agree, and I have experienced that through helping others and as well myself while in different stages of my life doing interviews myself. Being interviewed, it's really it's like a full-time job. You have to prepare for it, spend hours for it. So again, experiencing with mock interviews and recording yourself and getting some help from professionals like yourself or from friends, for example, being in the situation where you can tell your story, tell the best story that you have about yourself, your skills. What are you going to add to the specific position you are applying for? So every time you apply, we need to remember that it's different from what we have done before. Maybe we can add and let's say benefit from the experiences we had from previous interviews we had. So the more we have, the better, even though we are not successful in them. But I think it's a very good practice. So it is like a hard work, that's true. but I think it will pay off at the end when you actually do your homework and prepare yourself and be as natural as possible. Be yourself, because this is what the employers need to see. They need to see who you are, how you fit into the organization, what are you bringing to the table, and why you are a good fit. So the more natural and professional you are in preparing yourself, I think it is the better, and hopefully you will get the interview done and you will be successful in that. Thank you very much, Daniela, again, and thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I loved your share, Neruda. Actually, yeah, when you said about be yourself, right? Why so many people pick the opposite? I would think like, right? Why are you gonna spend time going to an interview not to take advantage of, introduce yourself with your full body, soul, and mind, and in spirit? Some people prefer to go that lane. And I'm not sure why, because the same, I've been interviewing people, like, I don't know, like, for depending on the process, like, you get to see many people, some of them just as an informational interview, but at least you get a few minutes with them, and then you can find those people that they just prefer to fake it and not even be that open to have the conversation. And then, well, after a few years, you get those people, I don't know if it's happened to you, but then you get those people then approaching because now they are out looking in the market. But yeah, it's not, I'm not sure if I want to share this information fully, or I prefer to be listening and not have any question. I don't have any questions. So preparing and even doing it in front of the mirror will leave you in a new position when you decide right at the interview what you want to share. It is very important because we are talking about time here. We are talking, and the next aspect that I'm going to cover is going to be related to owning your stage, your virtual stage, right? So you have those minutes, 20, 40, 60 minutes to speak about you. If the interviewer is a good interviewer, is calling you because they want to hear you and everything that belongs to your experience, and at the same time, to what can you bring to the table? Because they have a problem. And apparently, because you shared your CV and it might seem to look for them because they called you, now why are you going to share something that is not that impactful? So that's why you have, I would say, like, even do it twice or 3 times with 2 or 3 different people. Let's say 2 if you don't have that much time to share, and pick those particular achievements and situations that will drive you and hold that position in the long run. Because that's the idea as well, that you don't just bring the opportunity for them to know that you can do the job, but you can excel and go that extra mile in the future, because we don't know what the future will bring, right? So that's the idea. Even I think maybe a year ago, or maybe 2, it was an article that it was published on a magazine back in Argentina, where I say, well, companies are not looking for employees. They're looking for partners, business partners. Because if you want to look for employees, you will always be in the same state of not growing or not being competitive in the market. So that's why if you bring there your aspiration, okay, I want to join this company because you are looking to cover these particular skills or activities or duties, that's fine with me. But at the same time, I have a proposal for you. So part of the preparation should be fully focused on bringing your personal, like your true value proposition, but at the same time, how your own value proposition will go in line with what you envision the particular business that you will join be in the future. Okay, would you like to add something else, Neruda or Joseph or someone else in the audience? I really appreciate that you are still here, and I hope the tips are insightful for you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. I prefer yes to listen from everyone else if possible. Yeah, thank you very much again for having me. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks, Emilio. Okay, so owning your stage, and then we finish the session. We have around 5 more minutes. If Claudia or Nikki or Carlos, Leomar, Arina want to come up stage, and perhaps you have any questions, just raise your hand. I don't have any problem to have you up here, and then we can share insights and of course debate. Owning your stage, what does it mean? Like, can you imagine people, let's say stand-up comedians, when they go to a theater and they just need to show up, right? Because they have an audience waiting for them. They prepare, they know what they want to say, but they are very creative and they might not know what the night will bring. But at the same time, they got something already really incorporated that I would say is confidence. When you sit there, as we say, we are talking about virtual interviews, and the camera is on, you should be your full self, and then take advantage of the space and the time you were given to share the best of you. And I want to bring a concept here. I'm glad that Joseph is here as well, because we actually specialized in that area, and it's about executive presence. That not so many people apply the concept because they say, oh, executive, I'm not an executive, or this is too stiff, or I'm not that familiar with that concept because perhaps it's for other people and not for me. Again, we are talking a manner that reflects confidence. And if you are able to project yourself in that way, even just when you smile at the interviewing without even saying a word, you will have a few points already gained. Okay, just pay attention to that. Well, if you can read online, even on my LinkedIn, I said all about executive presence, but it's even the way you sound, right? How you make poses when you speak, how you stand in that particular call. How are you sitting? Are you owning it? You have the attitude. And even actually, I got a client that he was mentioning to me that in one of the interviews, they say, well, yeah, it was terrific. The interview was amazing, but there was a problem with the energy. We felt, and he was interviewed by 3 people, and all of them agreed that there was low energy in the room. And you know that after that, and that's why I say on your stage, imagine that you are standing in a theater, let's say, because it was something that with his body language. He was holding for the whole interview, and he didn't realize, just after the interview, he realized that he was pretty much hugging himself, just with the arms crossed for the whole interview. In that way, he wasn't able to emphasize and use his hands appropriately, and then make his message heard in the right way. They were wondering if he was nervous, if he was worried, if he was bored, because not so many people know the right feeling or intention behind a few expressions that we have. So yeah, we need to keep in mind our body language. And as I said, there is not that big difference between the in-person interview and the virtual interview. You just need to mind your space and the other elements that we spoke about, but then just take your time to make eye contact to listen carefully to your interviewer, and then to be able to come in and out with questions. Don't wait for the last minute and participate in the interview. We as recruiter, and I now call my recruiter headhunter profile, we don't actually will be considering people that are not owning it, since they actually open the camera and are able even just to say thank you for your time and for inviting me to the interview. It is a stage that you should own because you decided to apply to that position. Even if you are almost getting into another process or even just signing a contract with another company, that person, you got that person interested in you. So why not make real rapport with that person and share the best you can, given not just your credentials, but how you can impact the company in the future. Remember, everything at the end of the day will be down to your reputation, the way you address and not demand your authority, but how then you make other people look for you because you are the go-to person in your field. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and that's going to be pretty much the end of this session. Just to leave it there, not to go today in many specific questions that you might be asked at an interview, and of course, as it is something very subjective, recruiters might be expecting different type of answers. But yeah, considering interviews, virtual or not, as conversations would lead you to a better place for you to actually be able to hold that position and go ahead with the process, and then keep building the career from there. So if you guys don't have any questions, Claudia, Leomar, Irina, Joseph, or Neruda, I would like just to end this session and appreciate you all for being here. Thanks so much. Thank you, guys. I'll be in contact with you through direct message. Thank you.